This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. We are here with an old friend of Good Food Revolution, Élyse Lambert, Master Sommelier, who's joining us today in Toronto. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you.
Now you are here today for Taste Ontario. You have been presenting a seminar. Would you mind telling us the reason that you chose to take on this seminar today?
Well, it was a long discussion with Magdalena Kaiser. I've been an enthusiast about the wine of the region for a long time, but in the last 3 years I've been now consulting for Ritz-Carlton Toronto. And last time I crossed paths with Magdalena, I told her about my enthusiasm about the region, but how I implemented the wine of the region in my wine program. And I kind of suggested she come over and see what I do.
Tell us about that wine program, because you hail from Quebec. You don't have access to that much Ontario wine. Tell us about the wine program that you have and how it embraces Ontario wine.
I've been working with wines from Ontario for now more than 20 years, and I've been visiting the region regularly just to make sure I was keeping myself up to date. And when I started consulting for Ritz, for me it was a great opportunity to be able to showcase more of the wines, and one thing leading to the other, I got enthusiastic about the first product and the second one, and we had the Club Lounge reopening, the Club Lounge, which is a very specific area of the hotel, where I wanted to showcase exclusively wine from Ontario. And the idea to start with seemed a little bit surprising, but everybody followed this idea, and today we have a super exclusive space where we showcase exclusively as well Canadian wine. And I'm super happy about that because my team is on board with it, but more specifically as well, my guests are super happy with it.
That's excellent, that's excellent. So with you, hailing from Quebec, I'd be curious as to your first introductions to the wines of Ontario.
I was one of my first visits was in the early 2000s, and at the time I was already curious about the wine, the region, and everything that was going on. And one of the first person I met in the region was Charles Baker.
Oh yes.
At the time, he was working, if my memory is good, for Cape Spring. But we had lunch at a restaurant that I don't believe exists still.
On the 20, yes.
Does it exist anymore? So, first time.
Very good restaurant.
Yes,
yeah.
It was delicious. The company was amazing, and Charles got us into the Riesling discussion with his enthusiasm. And one thing leading to the other, like 20 years later, I realized the giant step that the region made and the new reality of what Niagara is today. For me, it's all about sparkling wine. It's about fabulous Chardonnay. Riesling, of course, that's always been, but Gamay, Pinot Noir. The sweet wine is not anymore at the forefront of the conversation, but still, for me, some of the foundation of what the region is all about. So I'm super happy I'm consulting here, because people say most of the time like grass is greener on the neighbor's garden, right? Well, guess what? I'm from Quebec, so you're the neighbor. So maybe that's why I'm so enthusiastic.
So I'm interested in your take on this. Let's take this step by step and talk about sparkling first. What are your thoughts about Ontario sparkling wine?
Probably my favorite wine of the region are sparkling.
Interesting.
That's the one that I showcase the most at the Ritz. I believe we have like people doing some amazing world-class sparkling wine from traditional method. Thinking of Henry of Pelham with Cuvée Catherine in their Carte Blanche. That is the high-end product of
That's
the
the Blanc de
wine.
Blanc.
That's our Blanc de Blanc.
Yeah.
It's
gorgeous wine. Yeah.
It's amazing. 54 months on lyse, a product that is beautifully balanced, just creamy enough, fresh. Everything's there. It's just an amazing wine. But the sparkling program at 13th Street is amazing too. And if you want to go on something that is a little bit more funky, you have Hinterland, and you have like so many people today that are producing like some very good quality sparkling wine. I served that at the Ritz, and I can tell you that people completely embrace that wine style from the region. So yeah, definitely something not to miss if you're not familiar with it.
So let's do it the way we did the seminar today. Let's start with Pinot Noir. Let's talk about Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is a grape very close to both of our hearts, I know that. So let's talk about Ontario Pinot Noir. Again,
the understanding more of the terroir today and more of the style that everybody wants to embrace. Like everybody has their own identity, from Bachelor to Taos to Flat Rock to Calus and so many more that I could name here. I really believe that Pinot Noir is a varietal that is quite successful. It can be used for sparkling, but as a red wine, it's delicious, it's fresh, it's elegant, and we tend now to work with a little bit less oak, which makes it so much more approachable. So very delicious Pinot in the region for a fabulous price too.
Now, as I'm a little bit more of a heathen, I'm more drawn, believe it or not, to Gamay than I am Pinot. But I've said many times that I think Gamay is perhaps one of the finest grapes within Ontario soils.
Gamay is quite successful too, does a very good job. I think it has its own style, as when you blind taste on it. For me, Gamay from Niagara has this little twist sometimes that gives you aromatic, reminding me of buckwheat honey, and there's little like twist to that Gamay. But nonetheless, my first contact with the Gamay was at the Malivoire at the time, and it kept in my favorite for something that is very approachable. And but if you want to go on something a little bit more funky, in Gamay you do have as well a very large array of style from different producer, and you have as well the Gamay Droit now from Château des Charmes. That is interesting because on its own now it's a clone, and it has a little bit more
uniqueness there,
and meatiness,
yep.
and that's as well something that is now proper from the region.
Let's move on to another grape. If we're going through the tasting, the Cabernet Franc from 30 Bench was a real standout for me today. Perhaps it's due to the barometric pressure, but that small lot Cabernet Franc has really hit home for me a number of times, and today it was tasting exceptionally.
It was tasting delicious. I was amazed with the Cabernet Franc. It wasn't my favorite grape when I started in the industry, but what I realized is Cabernet Franc is really successful in the region, and we have more and more people understanding that varietal and working it so well. I'm thinking here of Pearl Morissette, for example, that has 3 or 4 different cuvées of Cab Franc that are like super approachable, very Loire Valley style, stylistically. I really like the Cab Franc that we showcase as well. I think it was really true the identity of the varietal, without wanting to be too ambitious, so no over extraction, freshness, and definitely something to try if you're not familiar with Cab Franc.
I found it very interesting when you said you were more of a Chardonnay woman than you were a Riesling woman. Actually, I think you used the word girl, so I'll say that. But I kind of understand that, and I think I'm with you on that. So let's speak about Ontario Chardonnay.